You have talked about the instinct, the reason, and the conscience. What about the voice of the heart? Which is, I mean, in my experience, it sounds different from the reason and from the conscience. Thank you. See, no, I'm asking what, I mean, he has been talking about the instinct and the mind and the conscious. What about the voice of the heart, which in my experience sounds differently? It's brave, it's different.
Okay, no, it's certainly different. Voice of the heart and intuition is one and the same thing. Okay? It is different, obviously, from instinct and from rational mind, which was, I guess, your question. Okay? And I don't know if you know this, but they have discovered very recently, there's a wonderful book by anyone who wants to read about this. The author is a very famous psychologist from Canada. Her name is Annie Marquier. Okay? And in Spanish, the book is titled El Maestro del Corazón. I guess in English it would read something like The Master of the Heart. Okay? And what they have discovered is that the heart has about 40,000 neurons. I didn't know that before. I thought the neurons were in the brain. Okay? But they have discovered that the heart has 40,000 neurons, and that these neurons in the heart are much more powerful than the ones in the brain. And they have also discovered that these 40,000 neurons in the heart are connected with the higher mind. Meaning that the people that can use them are the people at high level of consciousness, so that they can operate from higher mind. So to your question, I would have to say that you are very correct. When your heart speaks to you, really is your intuition speaking to you. And that intuition expresses itself through the 40,000 neurons in the heart that are in turn connected to the higher mind, and that people don't begin to use until they are in higher level of consciousness as an operating mechanism. Okay. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think
I have a little longish question.
Go ahead.
I have a little longish question. You said that everything that happens in life is perfect,
yes,
and right. Perfect
and necessary.
And necessary. When you look at the world around you, you see so much poverty, you see so much famine, you see so much, you know, in injustices in the world, injustices. And then you wonder that if you sit quiet and accept it, that it's right and it's perfect, then what happens to all these people who are being oppressed or who are suffering from different types of, either poverty or medical reasons or schools? And say if you take the attitude that what is happening is right and is perfect, why should we offer to do anything to try and improve their condition?
Good question. One of the things you start learning to do in the new paradigm is that you really need to, for the first time, you really need to learn to think in paradox. Meaning, in the past, we've always thought in opposites. Okay? And we thought that there couldn't be like light and not light at the same time. There couldn't be heat and cold at the same time. It's either heat or cold. So that's thinking in opposites. Okay? That comes from a dualistic mentality, which is the nature of rational mind. But reality is not dualistic at all. Okay? So, to your question, I would say the following. First of all, what's happening to those people, okay, the poverty, the hunger, whatever, this is something that is happening to the three bodies, not to the soul. The soul is going through this experience, but this is happening to these three bodies. So, if you put yourself from the point of view of the ego, or the body, or the mind, obviously this is a drama. But if you put yourself from the point of view of the experience of the soul through the ego, okay, then it's not a drama. It's a necessary and perfect experience for that soul. Now, souls that go through this experience usually are souls of the lower consciousness levels. And they need those experiences to grow in consciousness. I'm sure you and I and everybody else here has had those experiences in the past as a soul, okay? Now, having said that, that does not mean that you do nothing about it. That means that you see it as perfect and necessary, okay, and you don't lose your peace about it, okay, and you don't lose your capacity to be of service because you don't lose clarity. You see that those are absolutely perfect and necessary processes, or they wouldn't be happening, but on the other hand, you also understand that you as a soul can only also learn through action, okay? So, what you see, an evolved soul, a high consciousness soul, what this soul does is this soul becomes of service to all these people in lower consciousness levels, okay? And you have to act in your service. Because, as I said before in the presentation, the higher dimensions of the beings in the higher dimensions, in the higher dimensions of the universe, they only do service, okay? Angels are not working for money or building companies. They are servicing lower souls, lower consciousness souls to grow faster, okay? So because you're going to become an angel, whether you like it or not, okay, in the next evolution of your souls, and your incarnations in the future will be as angels when you finish the human, you have to learn the service part. And when you learn the service part, learning service actually is like learning business. I mean, you have to go to a master's degree in service, because service has its own conditions and its own truths and its own that you have to find out through experience, much like you and I found out through experience how to better run a company, okay? So, one of the conditions of service is that you try to do the best you can for everyone. The second thing you understand in service is that all service is useful and all service is good. But we have a saying, at least in our culture, that it's better to teach a man to fish than to give him a fish. So the best service that you can do for people is teach them, is show them, is empowering them for them to get out of their problems on their own forces, on their own merit, on their own capacity, okay? So another thing that you have to learn through service is something that is very difficult to understand to our minds. And we were talking about this over lunch, which is the progression of spiritual development goes from the insensitivity of bad people, for example, Al Capone, couldn't care less if he has to kill you and your family to gain market share, okay? To the sensitivity of good people like us, you know, who suffer with the suffering of others, who really are touched, you know, when people, you know, are going through. And then at the end, you arrive to the desensitization of sages, okay, of wise people, of mystics. Why is that? Because from sensitivity, you make a lot of mistakes. From sensitivity, sometimes you interfere in the destiny of others when it's not the right time. From sensitivity, you suffer when others are suffering. And when you suffer, what happens is that your ability to be of service diminishes. Because creativity and suffering cannot coexist energetically in your brain. That's an experience we all have. You tell me. We all have had moments of suffering. In those moments of suffering, were we creative? Or did you find that the moments in creativity in your life mostly came when you were not suffering? Because there are two different energies that don't coexist in the same place, okay? So you have to train your mind to accept the fact that in order to be of better service to people, you have to stop suffering with their suffering. That doesn't mean you are not compassionate. That doesn't mean you will not give all your energy and time and effort to help them. It just means that while you do it, you don't suffer. I used to put the example of my brother-in-law. He's married to my sister. He's one of the most famous pediatricians in Spain. And his specialty is intensive care, intensive unit, okay? So he really gets all the most difficult cases in Spain. children that are dying, they're brought to him, you know, as a last resource or the last. And actually every day, two children or two childs die in his arms, every day. Now, if that happened to me, today, I would be in shock and probably could not continue with the presentation. But on the other hand, the child is dead after he's dead, okay? So what would I gain in not continuing the presentation and helping others that could be helped? So you need to desensitize if you want to be of service and you want to persevere in service. Desensitize doesn't mean insensitivity, on the contrary. Desensitize means sensitivity that has been perfected.
My only question is this, that supposing you don't feel, say for example you steal your heart, you don't feel emotions,
Yes.
To see human suffering.
Yes.
And what motivates you to do something positive?
Okay.
Sorry,
Sure, that's a good question.
on your
Yes.
thesis, your thesis that you mentioned to me, that the emotions are like the horse driving the carriage,
Sure,
right? The
sure.
emotion drives the carriage.
Sure.
And so if the emotion doesn't drive you,
Yes.
what makes you, why would you do something to help suffering of others?
Okay, good question. Because your understanding takes you to that, okay? Because, see, this example of the emotion driving the carriage is a very good example. I use it in my essay. And that comes from Animarchia, which in turn comes from a very old Oriental story, okay? And compares human beings to a carriage driven by horses, you know? And it says, the carriage is the body, the horses is your emotional body, the guy driving the carriage is the mind, and the guy sitting in the carriage is the master, who is the only one that knows the way, you know? And the master is sitting in the carriage, and that's your soul. That's the representation, okay? So what that story tells you is that the emotions need to be controlled by the driver. Because if you don't have very good horses, you cannot go fast. But if you have very good horses, and very strong horses, and there is nobody pulling the reins, you may end up in a ditch. And when you end up in a ditch, the carriage gets broken, okay? So, you have to understand that a lot of times I get the question in this presentation, but if I quiet my emotional body, then what is the source of life, you know? How do I get my pleasure from? How do I experience, you know, satisfaction or whatever? What people don't understand is that emotions are the sub-product of instinct. And surely they give us a lot of flavor, sometimes good flavor, sometimes bad flavor. I would say most of the time bad flavor, but sometimes good flavor. But these are emotions, this we share with the animals. This is not the most evolved thing that we have in us, okay? But if you're operating from the higher mind, the sub-product of the higher mind is bliss. Now, bliss, you could argue that bliss is an emotion, in a way, because bliss is something you feel, okay? But see, this bliss can never be negative, this bliss will never make you suffer, and this bliss will increase the clarity of your mind, okay? So you have to move from the normal emotions, that is what you share with animals, and that are very fluctuating, and sometimes are negative, to the higher emotion, if you want to think about it that way, that's called bliss, to put some name to it, okay? Bliss is joy, peace, okay? This is the sub-product of raising your consciousness level and thinking from the higher mind. Now, if you tell me, do I prefer this or this? No question. You don't lose any flavor here. Not at all. It's just that the flavor is always positive, is always high, is subtle. And it really, really makes you forget about all these other pleasures here once you know this. Problem with people is they've never experienced this. Because they haven't experienced this, they don't let go of this. Let me give you an example. 2 years ago, I was traveling with a couple that are good friends of mine. I use this example a lot in my talk. Some of these people already know it, sorry for the boredom, okay? But for new people, I think it could be a good example, okay? So we go to a beautiful hotel in the Caribbean, and it was like a 6-star hotel. It was beautiful, okay? And these people are great people, they're great people, but they don't have my economic capacity. So for them, going to these hotels is not something that they do every day. So they made this effort, you know, and we go together to this once a year, okay? So we arrived at the hotel, and we were given 2 beautiful rooms. They were like 2 small houses, each room, you know, in the middle, in the beach. It was beautiful. They couldn't believe it. They were so happy. They've never been in a place like that. And they started unpacking the bags, okay, and putting things in the or whatever. Me, you know, a little inquisitive. So I got the golf cart that was given to us with a room, and I decided to take a look at the rest of the resort, okay? And 5 minutes later, I arrived to another place in the resort where they had the same 2 rooms, you know, but in the middle of the 2 rooms, they had a room bigger than this one, with no windows, no crystal, no nothing, open to the beach, in a much better place of the beach. Obviously, it was a much better place to be. And among other things, it allowed us the possibility of having breakfast together, or it even came with, how do you say mayordomo in English, the butler. And the butler prepared for you there the breakfast and dinners, and you could, you know, be together in that living room for a long time, and then when you wanted to be private, each one to the room, no problem. So I say, oh my God, we're moving here. I go to the director of the hotel, and I tell him, look, we want to switch. And, but look, the last night is already booked, and well, don't worry, we'll find a solution. Okay, after 30 minutes of discussion with the director of the hotel, I tell him, please don't tell them that's going to be more expensive. I'll take care of the difference, but next time we'll come to a better place. So after 30 minutes of discussion, we got the move. We got to move. And I go back to my friends, very happy with my chariot, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I say to them, hey, we're moving. I found a better place. And the guys start saying, no, it's impossible. Better than this is impossible. We cannot move. We've never seen, I mean, we're very happy here. How can there possibly be a better place, you know? I say, oh my God, I'm a deep shit here because, you know, I've already told the director of the hotel we were moving. They're already sending the guys to pick up the clothes and move us. The clients are being moved from one place to another. What the hell do I do now, no? So I start thinking, and I say, okay, let's solve it this way. I tell my friends, okay, we are not moving. Don't worry, we're not moving. You stay in your emotions here. They're very beautiful. We're not moving, okay? But let me tell you something. I'm going to show you another place in the resort, just in case we decide to come another year, that you might consider it for future events. Okay? To that they couldn't say no. Obviously, how can I say no to see something for future, you know? So they come with me in the car, okay? And when they see the place, they decided to move in an instant. Okay? So the resistance is the resistance to the unknown. Here we are familiar. We know. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad. Even when we are sad or when we are feeling negative emotions, there is a certain use to it. Huh? Sometimes we have pleasure in feeling ourselves the victim of something. Sometimes we find use in, you know. But we have to let go of that.
Sorry to ask you, see the people like you said, like Gandhi or Nelson Mandela, they felt in their heart
they didn't need this to do. They didn't need this to act.
No, but if they didn't feel the emotion for their people, they would not have done something to liberate them.
But it's not, they don't feel the same emotion we feel. What they see is, an inspiration to be of service. And that inspiration to be of service gives you much more energy to perseverate in the service than if you are trying to do the service from here. See, because if you are trying to be of service from an emotional place, then you, me, and everybody knows how emotions go up with you know? So then you're only of service half the time. When you are down, you are not of service. You are exhausted, you lose clarity, you know, you are under stress, under anxiety. How can you be of service? See, when if I'm feeling anxious and someone comes with an important question, I will block the illumination from upstairs. And the answer that I give him will come from this place, rather than from this place. Okay? So, again, you have to, I know it's difficult to understand at the beginning, and believe me, you're understanding very quickly. I was much slower than you to understand, okay? Meaning that this is a known territory for us, in a way, you know, and we need to understand that it can work. But mostly, as I always say in my presentation, don't believe me, just verify it, okay? Now, it is the same way that, look, if you're a man and you grow in consciousness and you go to get a blood analysis, you would have lost testosterone. And if you're a woman, you will have gained some. Meaning, okay, meaning that there are physical changes in you when you grow in consciousness of all kinds. The membrane of the cells, as I was telling this morning, become bigger in relationship to the nucleus. The testosterone hormones decrease for men and increase for women, you know, because at the top of the pyramid, everybody's the same. Angels are not men or women, they're androgynous, meaning they're both, or neither. Okay? So all polarity, whether it's men, women, whether it's this religion or this other, whether it's this belief system or this other belief system, they all happen in the lower realms of the consciousness levels. At the top of the pyramid, everybody thinks the same. If you talk to Gandhi or you talk to Teresa of Calcutta, you will see no difference. Yes, she was Catholic or Christian and he was Hindu. But at this level of consciousness, it doesn't matter because there is no more mentation. See, you rely on concepts and mentation and ideas about things when you're in the 400s, in the consciousness level. And then when using concepts, of course, Gandhi, you know, his culture, whatever, will bring him to different concepts than Teresa of Calcutta and her culture. But when you are over 600 in the vibrational level of the consciousness, then there's no more mentation in a way. You're using intuition more than mind, and because truth is one, you can only receive one truth. But to the extent that you are caught in your inferior bodies, you cannot escape yourself from all these problems, okay? So, when you go up the pyramid, the one thing is that you start to lose fear because you understand how things are. And you understand that there is nothing wrong or negative that can happen to you. Especially if you see yourself as a soul, okay? So, once you lose the fear of death itself, and you understand what death is, and once you start seeing yourself and everybody else as a soul, then how can you have any fear? Fear of what? Yeah, you are a soul, okay? If I'm right, I could be wrong. That's for you guys to verify, okay? But if I am right, you are a soul, there is downward causation, you know? Everything that happens is perfect and necessary because it's decided by consciousness, not even by our limited minds. So what problems could I have? Where is my fear? Where can I fit fear here? Where do I put fear here? You see?
Thank you.
Please. Okay, please. Go ahead.
My question is, if every soul jumps from level to level,
Yes.
will there ever be a point where all the souls reach the highest level and everybody is at the top of the pyramid?
Sure, good question. Thank you. Look, Think of this as you would think of about the school that you go to. Okay, in Madrid, maybe? Okay. So you go to school in Madrid. And your school, I guess every year there are students coming for the first time into school at kindergarten level, or whatever is the earliest level of the school. And every year, students graduate at O level, no? Before they go to college. So there's a constant renovation of students that come through the school and exit the school, but the school is always there. The only thing that changes is the students that go through it, not the school itself.
So there is a creation soul, so souls are
Sure,
created.
souls are created all the time, innocent, meaning without information. Then they have to go through a period of ignorance to get the information. And once the soul gets the information, they graduate and they leave the school. And they never incarnate as a human being again, because there's no need for it. Remember, when they were crucifying Jesus Christ, his last words were this: forgive them because they don't know what they do. He didn't say forgive them because they are bad people, but we still need to forgive them. He said forgive them because they are ignorant. Now you have to understand that the ignorance I'm talking about is not only intellectual ignorance, because if that were the case, then it would only be intellectual ignorance. The ignorance that I'm talking about is sort of vital ignorance that includes the intellect, but includes many other things. For example, if I'm in the lower consciousness levels, I cannot use the higher mind. It's not available to me. I cannot even use the brain circuitries that I showed you before. So we are somehow physiologically limited, and therefore we are not free. Meaning, I don't see from this eye. I was born blind in this eye. There's nothing I can do. I close this eye and I don't see. Okay, so I cannot use both eyes. It's much the same way that souls at the lower consciousness level cannot use higher mind. If you want them to use higher mind, you have to wait until we can raise the consciousness level of the soul. Okay? So I don't know if I've answered your question, but
Yes, and does the school also, but what you use the metaphor for the school, does that also change level? Because, for example, 500 years ago,
yeah.
I believe there weren't so many people like, let's say, Gandhi or
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela
Yeah.
as there is now. Does that mean that the school is each time getting better
Very
at
good question.
teaching?
Yes, very good question.
Okay.
Yes, the answer to that is yes. Just to give you the exact data, about 2,000 years ago, when Jesus Christ was preaching, in the time of the Romans and all that, the average consciousness level of humankind as a whole was about 100. Okay? Today, the average consciousness level of humankind as a whole is 207. For the first time in the history of humanity, we have crossed the critical level of basic integrity. Now, you can say to me, Gonzalo, you are confused. You are telling me that 80% of people today are below 200. So how can it be that you are also saying that the average consciousness level of humankind is 207? How can that be if 80% of the people are under 200? See, what happens is that there is enough people, over 500 today, that compensate. The tons of people are 100. And the average vibrational level of humankind is 207. Okay, today. That may change, you know. So yes, the school itself is evolving. It's like the school is not, for example, in the earth today, this school decided no more kindergarten. I'm not going to offer kindergarten. For kindergarten, we go to another school. We are just starting in primary. Okay? In the future, the school may say, look, no more primaria. This school starts in high school. Okay? And the school evolves in a way. Okay? But what really happens is that people come in and out of school all the time too. So it's not only the school evolving, but the individual students are also evolving through the school. For example, it may very well be that in future years, the Earth, let's say, will be a school for 4th level of consciousness. Why not? The vibration of the planet, increases, and the universe finds other planets, to teach 2nd and 3rd level of consciousness. That can happen. If you watch through a telescope and you watch the universe, you will know that because of the color of the planet. Okay? So blue is 3rd level school. Every time you see a planet that is blue, probably is teaching 3rd level, consciousness. Planets that teach 5 or 6 level consciousness are usually violet. Okay? But that's another topic for another discussion. Okay.
I'm wondering how you measure the consciousness levels.
Excuse me?
I was wondering, you said earlier the 3 consciousness.
Yes.
And I'm interested in the science behind it. How is it measured? How is
Okay.
it? What's the science?
Well, first of all, there are two different things here. One thing is how do you describe them before you measure them? Okay? How do they look like? Because each consciousness level is like a computer program. Meaning, if I have a Windows 2000, there are some things I can do. But the Windows 2000 has some limitations, up and down. Meaning, if I want to do more things, I need to buy Windows 2008. Okay? So the first thing we need to worry about is what is the description of each consciousness level. See, because each consciousness level determines the temptations or the inclinations you are going to have. Okay? Determines the way you can think. Determines the choices that are open for you. Okay? That's all determined by the consciousness level. As a matter of fact, all your life is an expression of your consciousness level. So, if I ask you, what is your life, and you answer to me, I'm a mother or not, or I do this or that, or I go to the office, or I will tell you what your consciousness level is immediately. Okay? So that's one thing. How do you describe each level? Okay? Then the second thing is the second question from you is how do you test it, or how do you know? Okay? Okay. So they're doing a lot of research on that. And the research is being done through a medical discipline called kinesiology, with K. And if you want to know about that, I recommend a very good book, wonderful book that I'm sure Iñaki will recommend too. That's called Power versus Force from David Hawkins. And it explains to you in all detail how it's measured and how they're doing it and whatever. But mainly, there are many ways to do it. The first thing they found out is that it affects your muscle strength. Okay? So what does that mean? We said that we are surrounded by a consciousness field, by an energy field. You've seen it in the movies, in the videos, and they call it the A field, or the 0 point field, or the Akashic records. It's the same thing. Okay? So because everything that exists in the universe has already happened, theoretically, you could ask any question to the Akashic fields and get back what they call a binary answer. So the way you ask it is a yes or no question. Okay? And it shouldn't be very surprising to know that the universe, God, however you want to conceive it, because I'm going to change what it is, has already given us a way in our own bodies to distinguish truth versus falsehood. You see, because the mind cannot discern essence, that's one of the problems of mind, okay? Within our minds, we cannot really either discern essence or know what is true or false. Mind gets a lot of confusion, okay? So God has to give us some mechanism that we can be more certain of, okay? So the Akashic records have all the information. And you can ask questions to the Akashic records. You can ask, was Jean Paul II more than 600 in consciousness level, yes or no? If the answer is yes, your muscles remain strong. And if your answer is no, your muscles become weak. And that can be measured by apparatus. Okay, for example, if I put a picture of Teresa de Calcutta, or Gandhi, okay? It's probably closer to your culture. And I put a picture of Hitler, okay? And I put them both in a closed envelope, so you don't know which one is what, okay? You put the picture of Gandhi in your chest, and your muscles strengthen. And I put a picture of Hitler on my chest, and your muscles weaken. And that can be measured. Okay? And it doesn't matter whether you personally think that Hitler is God. It doesn't matter what your mind thinks about it. Just the picture of Hitler here will weaken you, and the picture of Gandhi will strengthen you. That's not only with people. You can do that also with apples. You get an apple that is organic, you put it in your chest, and your muscles get strong. You get an apple that is being grown with pesticides, okay, and your muscle weakens. So then the way you measure it is to those bodily mechanisms that we have. They are now experimenting with pupils, they're experimenting with stomach juices, with a lot of things to get to the same answer. Okay, so first you need like a theoretical description of each level. That doesn't come from measurement, that comes from research. Okay, but then if you want to measure it, then you do one of these tests. So theoretically, I could tell you all today what the level of consciousness of each of you is. First of all, I need your permission, because if not, it will be integros and I will get no answer from the Akashic fields. But once I get your permission, I ask the question, is so-and-so over 400, yes or no? And according to my muscle strength, you will give me the answer. For example. Now, I don't need the muscle test, because once I know the precise description of each level of consciousness, and I do know that, then you just have to tell me what your life is, and I'll put you in one level of consciousness. Let me give you an example, okay? This is an important question. And I need to show you the paper. One second. This is all done. Okay. So let's take two things that affect everybody in life, okay? Let's take work and let's take sex, okay? And let's see how it works in the level of consciousness, okay? In work, if you're operating from level 2, the way you think is, I will do anything I need to do to get ahead. And if that includes killing him, I'll kill him. That's how Al Capone would think. That's work on level 2. Work on the low 3s is this. I will do anything I can to get ahead as long as I'm not caught. That's corrupt politicians, corrupt businessmen operate at that level. They don't kill anybody anymore, like Al Capone would, but they do everything they can to get ahead for themselves unless they are caught. Okay? Now, in the high 3s, when you work, you still want you to get ahead. You want the promotion for yourself. You want to get a higher salary or dividend or whatever. But at least you're operating from a place of ethics, meaning my criteria is not anymore whether I'm caught or not. I have an internal regulating mechanism, okay, that is telling me what I can do or not do. That comes from my ethics, not from my practicality. Here is where you begin to understand for the first time in your life that the end doesn't justify the means. But until you get here, you operate on the other concept. The end does justify the means. Okay? Now in the low 4s, then when you work, you don't work for any advancement for yourself or for any monetary compensation or for any title or for anything. You just work to be of service. Okay? So that's how you operate. So if I understand how you are working, you tell me how you are working, I'll tell you your level of consciousness. You understand that? Let's say you tell me you run a mafia organization and you're ordering people to be killed all the time. I know you're in level 2. Tell me you go to an office, to a bank or to a company or you're a doctor or an architect and you work for your fee and all this and that. I know you're in the high 3s. If you tell me you're dedicating your life to service, you have to be in the 4s, in the low 4s somehow, or you wouldn't persevere. Okay, so So what you are doing for work is already telling me your level of consciousness. Take another topic, sex, okay? Sex in level 2 is always related to violence. It's the world of rapists, the world of pederasts, and if there is not violence in the sex itself, there is violence around the sex. We call it domestic violence, okay? But in level 2, sex and violence go together. Now, if you're in the low 3s, when you are practicing sex, it's a ¿cómo se dice esto en inglés? Yeah, it's a genital sex, okay? This is the world of prostitution. The world of get you here and here I sleep with you, you know? The world of multiple partners. The world of, I sleep with you today and I don't know you tomorrow. It's the world of...
Just on this point,
yes.
What if, on the one hand, I dedicate my life to teaching, I'm
Yes.
a doctor, I
Yes.
work in a hospital,
Yes.
but when I go home I beat small children, which level am I?
When you go home,
I beat small children. So I
You
do
beat
in one half of my life I dedicate to
Good.
service.
well,
I'm sure you-
that is a great question. That is more of a theoretical question than a practical one, because if you're in the high 3s, you don't beat children.
So there can be no people who have both good characteristics and bad characteristics.
Mhm.
Everyone who's good is purely good.
Well, no. There can be people that have both. I'll explain that later. You give me a second, I'll get into that. They're going to finish the sex explanation, okay? So when you're in the high 3s,
Sorry to interrupt the set.
it's important because we'll give you an understanding, okay? When you're in the high 3s, the sex you practice is sex with commitment. Usually practice sex with one partner. You want to use the sex for more things than sex, like for build a community of life together, an intimate relationship and so on. But at the high 3s, you still feel that sex is a necessity, even if it's with only your partner, or your wife, or your husband. And if you don't have it, you miss it. Okay? Now, in the low 4s, you can have sex, or not have sex. But if you do have sex, first of all, it's not a need, it's nothing you need, it's something you choose to do. But if you don't have it, it's no problem. And in the high 4s, there can be no sex, because nobody in his right mind comes down from a mystical experience to have sex. Okay? So you understand how everything that you do in life is sort of determined by your consciousness level. Okay? Now to your question, which is a great question. And I should have...
Phrase it with a couple of others as well, so I have one or two
Sure.
questions.
Go ahead.
Same topic, same kind of question, just
Yes.
if you can answer maybe together.
Yes,
One was the question was sort of how you would measure the consciousness level.
yes,
And you said that, oh, sorry, it's not on here. Better?
yes.
No.
Hello?
Yes.
There we go. Sorry. I'm sorry if you've answered this before, maybe I misunderstood.
All right.
But, so I think the question was how you measured the consciousness levels, and you said that we define them in terms of characteristics.
Sure.
And we can relate those characteristics to muscle strengths.
Yes.
And I was wondering, firstly, how you get any calibration between muscle strengths and personality characteristics. And secondly, how those characteristics relate to waves of energy matter. And is the energy matter as a continuum, then surely I can be there's no discontinuity then. There's just a range of goodness and badness, but you can't be sort of discontinuously good. One person, it has to be completely continuous, so I increase the frequencies.
Sure.
And the second part of that was, what if I'm part good, part bad?
Yeah.
What level do I come into then? What if I have, in one part of my life I'm good, one part of my life I'm bad? And the last part was relating to my grandfather's question, and I'm sorry if you answered it, I didn't fully understand, was why does this model not legitimize inequality in society? If we're saying that everything is necessary and perfect, are we not saying the status quo is just as it should be and we shouldn't attempt to change it?
Okay. Let me start with the second part of your question, okay? You have to understand that consciousness level is like the average of the grades you get in school. Okay, so let's say you're in school and you have 7 different subjects. You study chemistry, geography, history, mathematics, whatever it is.
Yeah.
In one you get an A, in the other one you get a C. So if you get an A in half of them and a C in the other half, your consciousness level is B, which is the average of the two, okay? Now, in psychology, they use what's called a psychogram, okay? And in this psychogram, the human being has more than 20 different lines of development, okay? Here you have the cognitive line, here you have the emotional line, here you have the psychosexual, here you have the ethical line, here you have the aesthetic line, so on and so forth. They found more than 20 different lines of development, okay? And your consciousness level is the average of them all, okay? And then you may be very high in your cognitive line, but you will be very low in your ethic, or in your, or in your psychosexual life, and you can beat people. So it is true that you can have like good and bad characteristics at the same time in you, because you may have some lines that are more developed than others.
So does every action then affect my energy with?
Yes, and that affects your energy because on the one hand you're operating, let's say, from a very high place in your cognitive line, but you're operating from a lower place in another of your development lines. And it's a little bit like a schizophrenia, because, okay, so, but once you're operating from a very high level in several lines, that high level attracts the lower level of the others. So it's easier to grow out of the others. I would say, if you have a psychograph where you have a very high cognitive line and a very high, let's say, ethical line, but then you have a very low, psychosexual line, then this line will solve itself much faster than if all the other lines are at the same level than this one. I'll give you an example. I had once a friend of mine who was a great guy and had a very high cognitive line, had a great, service line, he was doing a lot of things, but he was low in this psychosexual line, and he was sleeping with 90 women every year because he was single, okay? And he came to see me and said, Gonzalo, what the hell do I do? Because it doesn't make sense that I'm up here in all this, and here I have this problem, So, a lot of older schools would have told him, okay, tie yourself to a tree, get a lot of cold showers, or maybe 5 volumes every night or something, But he wouldn't have solved his problem. You know what I told him? I knew he was high in these lines. So I said to him, let's do the following. First of all, don't worry about it. What's happening is perfect and necessary like anything else. What you have to do from that peace of mind is solve your problem, is grow, okay? So the first thing you do is you put him at peace, meaning use your peace to grow, okay? Not your fears, okay? The second thing I told him was, okay, next time you're going out with a woman to have dinner and see if you go to bed with her, I told him, don't go to bed with her, because who cares 89 or 90 every year is going to be different, So he understood that, okay? So I said, in this case, don't go to bed. Just serve her. That night you serve her. You ask her about her life, you ask her what she's read, if she knows about these good books, you suggest a couple of good books, you talk about growth and spirituality. You can do that very well because those lines you have very developed, and don't go to bed with her. And then tell me what you feel, and we'll start from there. Next day, I get a message in my phone, literally. Thank you so much, my problem is solved. Because he had felt so much better being of service and having sex that the problem was solved, okay? So that's the answer to your question of, how people can have different lines or whatever. The other question, repeat it please.
So the second question was, one, how you assign a number to every consciousness level, to every system of traits, how you relate that.
That's a question in itself,
okay.
and then because then they forget the question and I too.
All right, just that and how you relate it to muscle strength and how you relate that to energy frequency.
So how you assign a number?
What are the energy frequencies?
How you assign a number is really arbitrary, as I said before, okay? Because what do I call this? Do I call this 1 meter? Do I call this 100 centimeters? Or do I call this 1,000 millimeters? They're all right. So we all have to arbitrarily put a number to things so we can all communicate with each other and try to find a common reference point, okay? So having said that any number you put to it is arbitrary, The way you do it is you know that each consciousness level we'll fix it later. Each consciousness level means that you are going from a lower dimensional energy in you to a higher vibrational energy. Okay? What number you put to it, it doesn't really matter. I mean, in Europe, in Madrid, we measure distance in kilometers. And here in London, we measure it in miles. At the end, there are 2 units of measurement.
But we can measure the frequency of those waves, and it's
Sure.
not dimensioned, right? So
Sure,
now it's only one.
we can measure the vibrational frequency, and that is the number that you saw up here where it said log, okay, in the model of Hawkins. Okay? You can measure this.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I think I've been unclear. I'm just wondering how you calibrate that
Okay.
number.
So you
Muscle
calibrate it by measuring the vibrational frequency. Okay? Now, how does it relate to the muscle strength is that one way to measure it very quickly is to do the muscle test. Because let's put it this way, okay? When Edison, remember Thomas Edison, he invented the light bulb? Okay. Well, we say he did, he may have not, I don't know, but just an example, okay? So let's assume Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. But I know that you know that the material that goes in the light bulb is something that in Spanish is called tungsteno. In English called tungsten. Yeah, okay. But before he arrived to the tungsten, he tested 1,000 materials first. He started with copper, he went to something else. It took him about months, you know, to arrive to the tungsten solution. Now, another way to arrive to the tungsten solution is this. I am Thomas Edison. I need to find out which is the best material to put in the light bulb. So I asked the Akashic field. And I said, I extend my arm and I asked the Akashic field, is tungsten the correct material for this that I'm building? And if the answer is yes, my muscles remain strong and you cannot bring my arm down. And if the answer is no, my arm becomes weak and you can bring it down a bit. Now obviously testing it with each other arms can be a little inexact, so you have to use appropriate apparatus that measure it much more exactly. But at the end of the day, the way you use your muscle strength is to ask binary questions to the level to the Akashic field, and then according to whether the answer is yes or no, your muscles become strong or weak. Now, how does that relate that to consciousness level? Okay, I can start trying to measure with apparatus all the consciousness levels and vibrational level of everybody in this room. It'll take me a long time. But if I go like this to the Akashic field and I say, okay, I don't know, Iñaki calibrates more than 600, yes or no? I'll find it instantly because my muscle strength will respond to that. Actually, in the United States today, there are many doctors, I'm not talking healers, I'm talking doctors with medical careers, okay, and medical degrees that won't ask you anymore to do any analysis, blood analysis or this or that. What they do is you go into their office, they cross their fingers like this, I've seen it done, okay, and they start asking, this guy has a problem with the liver, yes or no? This guy has a problem with the heart, yes or no? Then when the Akashic field gives them the answer, then they send you to do specific tests on the specific problem that they found. But a lot of them are not asking you to do a battery of tests anymore. They just use their fingers to measure the muscle strength when they are asking questions to the Akashic records. And I couldn't believe it the first day I saw it. So I took a group of friends of mine to the doctor. Yes, I need to see for myself, you know. And it was astonishing. The guy found out in 1 minute that I had a problem with my liver, the other guy had a problem with his knee, problems that we didn't even know about because we hadn't done the analysis first, okay? So then the analysis is much more specific because it sends you to do specific analysis to corroborate, you know, his findings. Look, this is astonishing, and this is going to be true in very brief time. Remember, Franco, a lot of you, I'm sure, have seen all these television series in the US about all, you know, whatever, law and order or criminal this or that. And you know that today the DNA test is admitted as proof. So if they want to know whether you killed someone or not, they will see that you find your DNA in the body or if they don't, okay? And today, that has certainty enough to consider legal proof. 10 years ago, it was not legal proof. It was an indication of guilt, but they had to corroborate it with other proofs because the testing mechanism of the DNA was not perfected. And therefore, mistakes could be made in the test, okay? So you see how humanity is going to evolve, because now you can ask the Akashic records, did this guy kill this other guy, yes or no? Okay, now they're using the muscle strength as they're using this machine that tells you where you lie or doesn't lie. You know how it's called the lie detector, exactly, okay? Now, lie detectors today are not perfected enough to use them as definite proof. But the police in the United States use them all the time to see if they want to investigate you further or not. Okay? So, same thing with this muscle strength test. Today the test is not perfected enough that you can use it as legal proof. But it took about 2 years to perfect the DNA test. It's going to take about another 6 months to come up with a machine of the lie detector machine that is proof, you know, proven accurate, that you cannot beat it, okay? And it's we're months away from really this muscle test. And when this muscle test gets perfected, then forget it. There's nothing you can have.
Gonzalo, excuse me, and up to which extent can our mind interfere with the Akashic field?
It cannot. That's the very thing, cannot.
Even if, imagine I'm asking,
Yeah.
has this person killed
Yeah.
X? Yes
Yeah.
or not? And I will, he has killed, he has
No,
killed.
you cannot. That's what I said before. That's what I said before with the pictures, okay? Meaning, look, I can think that Hitler is a saint. I can think. My mind can make that mistake. But still, my muscles will go weak. Okay? So, look, this is going to change humanity. Why? We're not going to need any more judges, criminal cases or anything, because it's easy. Who killed this guy? Did this guy kill it, yes or no? You can even ask, did my wife sleep yesterday with somebody else, yes or no? And your muscles will...
What about investment decisions?
Same thing. So the world is going to change so much with this that we can't even imagine. Then, I mean, it will be no more. I mean, today sometimes I discuss with other people about the merits of this idea versus this other idea. And we can be discussing that for months. But that's all useless, because as soon as this test is reliable, I can ask the Akashic records what level of truth has any idea in it. So, for example, this test is going to make religious differences stupid, or any other thing. Because you can ask, does the gospel has more or less level of truth, let's say, than the Quran? To give you an example, who knows? I don't know today. We can argue that for hours. But when I can test it with the Akashic records, it's going to throw a result in favor of this or in favor of that, in terms of levels of truth. And if that is the case, one of the two will be waste paper basket. You understand? So that's going to work for the unity of mankind more than anything else so far, because there cannot be any more dissent. Meaning, you can ask, is the banana good for me or not? You know, and if it's not, then all bananas get not in production, you know? So there cannot be more confusion after this test is perfected.
It's a Bible answer, but it also depends on, like the gospel versus the Quran, it kind of depends on the point of view.
No.
It's not like a true
Well,
versus
I mean,
absolute.
today it depends on our point of view. Today, yes, because we still don't have a perfected test of having something higher than us tell us. But once you have that test, and the Akashic record tells you, I mean, trust me,
So one
day no one will need faith.
That one?
One day no one will need faith.
Exactly. Exactly. See, today, you need much less faith than 10 years ago. Because, look,
Why are there more atheists today?
less faith today than 10 years ago, because science knows more. And what science, I don't look at it. Do you need faith to know that the earth is round? Or do you just need to look at the picture? Sure. So the more pictures I can show you of many things, the less faith you need, because I can show you more pictures. So every time I can show you a picture, you don't need faith. You just need to look at the picture. You need faith for those things where I cannot show you a picture. And that's how you develop your own belief system. Okay? So I submit to you that all differences in religions have been killed today. Because there is no religion today that can say that the earth is flat or that the moon is square. Because if any religion said that today, you would laugh at them. You would say, what the hell? How can I trust the rest? You know? So, the moon is round for everybody. I don't care if you're a Muslim, or a Jew, or a Christian, or a Buddhist, the moon is round. So up to the point that the moon is round, we all have to agree. True? Okay, but the moon is round is a very basic thing to say. But all religions have to agree, all of them, in everything we've been discussing today. You've seen the videos. You've seen the scientific proof. So if you find a religion that doesn't agree with that, drop it. Because they're out of whack. You know? So, the more we know about reality, scientifically speaking, the less difference there can be among religions. Because up to this point, they all have to agree. And the only thing that the religion can add is what science doesn't know. And that's where you use your faith. Okay? So let's say that my religion tells me that the earth is round, but I've never seen a picture. Okay, I can use that information, but I always have a doubt, you know? Once I see the picture, I don't care what the face is. I've seen the picture, you know? So for that I don't need doubt. Okay, so the more science knows, the more the consciousness of humanity is going to raise, at least to a certain point. And to this point here, there can be no difference in religions. The difference in religions always come above science, not below science. You see what I mean? Let me explain it in another way. Everything that manifests in 4 quadrants. Okay? Jesus, I had a picture of that here somewhere. One second. Here it is. And if I can pick this up. And I want to say, thank you for saying that, okay? Okay, so everything that manifests in those 4 quadrants. So imagine a dog. A dog, okay? A dog has an internal, this is the interior of things, and this is the exterior of things, and this is the individual and the collective, okay? So let's talk about a human being. A human being has an interior experience, okay, that is subjective, and nobody knows other than yourself. But at the same time you have as an individual, at the same time you have an interior experience, you have like an external reality. So, this is the world of medicine. This is the world of religion. Religion deals with interiors, experiences. Medicine deals with exteriors. So if I open the brain of Jose Ignacio, I will see the exterior of it, the gray matter, the brain, whatever. And this one is an objective test. But if I want to know what I can know by the exterior that he is thinking, I can put some electrodes in his brain and it will tell me whether he's thinking or not. But only, if I want to know what he's thinking about, I need to ask him. There's no apparatus that will show me that. Only show me that he's thinking or not thinking, not what he's thinking about. Then I need to ask him. So the criteria of validity in this realm is honesty. And this one is objectivity. Now we go to the plural of the both, So the collective individual experiences are the culture. And the collective exteriors are the institutions and the systems you see out there. Culture produces airports or produces other things. Okay? And internal things produces external things or not. And everything that manifests has these 4 quadrants. Okay? So I guess that's the answer to your question. This is called integral philosophy. It's a philosophy that is arising today to explain what's going on in the universe and all these new scientific tools. Okay?
I have a question on the karma,
Yes.
on the personality archive.
Yes.
In Hinduism,
Yes.
they say that we can go backwards
Yeah,
in
but that's a mistake.
reincarnation. Yeah. But then, what we did wrong in past lives,
Yes.
does it affect?
Future lives.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
But the 2 things are true. It's wrong to the first one, true to the second one. And just to explain it in 30 seconds, remember this morning, and I guess it's been late enough, if you have other questions, I'll be happy to, but if not, okay. We said that the human being has 3 archives of information. We said genetic, we said personality, and we said consciousness archive. We said these 2 were corruptible, we said these 2 die when you die. We said this is not corruptible, comes with a factory guarantee that you cannot record false information, and it doesn't die when you die. This is the archive of information that accompanies your soul through eternity. So, in the Hindu tradition, when they say that if you're a bad person, you can reincarnate as a cockroach, that's wrong. Because this archive is not corruptible. You cannot, all going backward happens in those 2 archives. I can corrupt my genetic archive, I can corrupt my personality archive, and I can go backwards. I could go tomorrow in a depression if I didn't care for myself. And I had thoughts. I could kill myself with cirrhosis if I started drinking alcohol all the time. So these archives are corruptible. This one is not. See, that's why science helps, because it takes away confusion. See, now nobody can sustain that. Because if they did sustain that, I will slap them in the face with a picture. You see what I mean? So, this is what guarantees the directionality of your evolution. Now, this directionality can be like this, can be like this, or can be like this. But it's always not flat. And whether it's this, or that, depends on your intention and your attention. Much in the same way you want to learn to play golf. What would I say to you? Practice, give time, give effort, because if not sitting in that chair, you're not going to learn golf. Okay? So, all spiritual growth, this is the last thing I will say today, all spiritual growth sustains itself on 3 legs. There are 3 parts to it, okay? This is important that you understand this. Much in the same way as when you try to learn to play golf, you are going to go and do the following. If I want to play golf, the first thing I need is correct information. Do I not? Because if I think that the golf swing is this way, or that way, I will not hit the ball 300 yards. The only way I can hit the ball 300 yards is if I do it the correct way. Okay? And if I want to learn golf, I need to have correct information. That's why you hire teachers, or you watch videos, or you read books about it. Okay? Second thing is I need to train myself in the correct information. Because once I understand that the golf swing is this way, I need to practice it. I need to put myself in front of the ball and actually try to hit it. Okay? Because if I don't practice, I cannot move, I cannot translate the information into the practicality of life, hitting the ball. Okay? That's, you and I were talking about that in lunchtime. And it's the same example as when I told you that the napkins were like a club sandwich. And you put some water on the top shelf, but it doesn't penetrate to the bottom until you keep pouring water and water and water, everything gets wet. Okay? So that's the training. Okay? But there is a third leg. And the third leg is the management of energy or spiritual practice in spiritual growth. Why? Tiger Woods has all the information. Do we agree? And he has all the training. Do we agree? But if he goes to play a tournament after 4 nights without sleeping, he won't hit the ball, even with his training and information. So he needs his energy management. So here in practical life is where you talk about prayer, sacraments, yoga, meditation, whatever, okay? Nutrition, exercise, sleep patterns, these are all part of the management of energy. So you see that these two realms happen in the mind. We were given a mind by God, so our spiritual growth happens in the mind. Okay? This is the only place where we involve all of our bodies. Because when you're doing meditation, yoga, or exercise, you're involving your physical body, your emotional body, your mind, and your superior mind. So one can claim that the spiritual growth is done in the mind, mostly. That's why we are human beings. That's what we are supposed to do. The same way that the animals do their spiritual growth through their instinct. They don't have a mind. That's why it is slower. Okay? And they are not free to put it quickly or not. We have the freedom to make it quicker or faster. And the only thing in place is not drama, don't worry about it. The only thing that you are invested in is your suffering. Because the more you delay your growth, the more you suffer. Because there is more suffering in lower levels than in higher levels. Okay? So all we do in our lives that is not directed to grow our consciousness level is wasting our time. Because that's not what we came here for. I may be working in growing my company. That's fine, but that's a distraction. It don't mean we don't have to do it to learn, but my focus should be growing my consciousness through this. Okay? So in the management of energy, you involve the rest of your bodies. And if all religions will agree with this, there is no question about this. Okay? So we, for example, in the Christian religion have a problem. They say, if you don't go to sacraments, you don't grow. That's false. We do grow. It's just that we grow faster, maybe we use the sacraments. They are not a necessity, but a high convenience. Okay? But I could substitute sacraments by yoga, if I'm from another culture or anything else, and it will do the same thing for me. So you have to understand, the growth happens at mind level, as long as we're humans, not in angels, because angels have no minds and no bodies, they only have intuition. So for angels, it continues automatic, again, because intuition is direct apprehension of reality. So we humans are the only beings in the universe that can speed up or not our growth in consciousness. And we need to take advantage of that opportunity. And with that, unless there is any other important question, I think people need to leave. And if there is any other question, I'll be happy to answer it in one-on-one.